I was just minding my own business that afternoon, strolling through the upscale mall like any other day. My name is Jamal, I'm 35, and I've spent years dealing with the weight of people's assumptions. Those subtle stares and extra questions that follow me everywhere because of how I look. It's built up this quiet frustration inside me, making me feel like I'm always one wrong move away from being targeted. But I keep my cool, observing everything around me the way my job has trained me to do. Today, though, that composure was about to get tested in the worst way possible. Welcome to Melina's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below, telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. I stepped into this high-end electronics store, the kind with shiny displays and prices that scream luxury. The air was cool and crisp, scented with that new gadget smell, and soft music played overhead as I browsed the shelves. I picked up a smartwatch, turning it over in my hands to check the features, my mind wandering to whether it would make a good gift for my wife. Shoppers milled around, some chatting quietly, others tapping on their phones. Everything felt normal, peaceful even. Then, out of nowhere, I heard heavy footsteps pounding toward me. "Hey, stop right there," a deep voice boomed, echoing off the walls. Before I could react, two burly mall security guards barreled into the store, their radios crackling with static. The first one, a tall guy with a buzz cut, lunged at me like I was a fleeing criminal. He grabbed my arm and yanked hard, spinning me around. "Get down! You're under arrest for theft!" he shouted, his face red and veins bulging. I stumbled, my heart racing as shock hit me. "What? I didn't take anything," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the panic rising, but he wasn't listening. He shoved me forward, and I tripped over my own feet, crashing to the tiled floor with a thud that jarred my bones. Pain shot through my knee as it smacked the cold, hard surface, and I tasted the metallic tang of blood from biting my tongue. The second guard, shorter but stocky, piled on top, kneeling on my back and twisting my arms behind me. "We saw you stuffing stuff in your pockets, man. Don't lie," he growled, his knee digging into my spine, making it hard to breathe. I gasped, the weight crushing my chest against the floor. "I'm telling you, you're wrong. Let me up, I can explain." My protest came out calm, but inside, anger boiled from all those years of this crap. The assumptions that I don't belong in places like this. The guards ignored me completely, one of them snapping plastic zip ties around my wrists, the edges cutting into my skin. "Shut up and stay down," the buzz-cut guy barked, his hot breath on my neck as he pressed harder. Shoppers froze in place, their conversations dying out, replaced by gasps and murmurs. "Oh my God, what's happening?" a woman nearby whispered to her friend, pulling out her phone with shaky hands. Cameras flashed as people started recording, the crowd forming a loose circle around us. I could feel their eyes boring into me, some wide with shock, others narrowed in judgment. Whispers rippled through, "Did he really steal something? Look at him, probably." My face burned with humiliation, pressed against the gritty floor, dust sticking to my cheek. The pain in my shoulder throbbed where I'd landed wrong, and my shirt rode up, exposing my back to the chilly air conditioning. I tried to lift my head, scanning the faces for anyone who might help. "Please check the cameras." "I was just looking," I called out, my voice echoing slightly in the now silent store. But the guards just laughed it off. "Yeah, sure. We've heard that one before," the stocky one said, tightening the zip ties until my fingers tingled. More phones came out, lights glaring as videos captured every second of this nightmare. The crowd's stares felt like weights, piling on the shame. Being pinned down like an animal in public for nothing. I've faced this bias before, the way people cross the street or clutch their bags tighter around me. But this was raw, physical, stripping away any dignity I had left. A young guy in the crowd stepped closer, phone held high. "Hey, is this necessary? He doesn't look like he did anything," he said hesitantly. The buzz-cut guard shot him a glare. "Back off, sir. This is mall security business." The whispers grew louder, a mix of sympathy and suspicion buzzing like static. My breath came in short bursts, the floor's chill seeping through my clothes, and that old rage from countless similar moments simmered just below the surface. I stayed as composed as I could, knowing losing it would only make things worse. Then, amid the chaos, I heard purposeful footsteps approaching from the back of the store, someone striding toward us with authority. The footsteps stopped right next to us, and I heard a man's voice clear his throat, sounding all official. "What's the situation here?" he asked, his tone sharp and impatient, like he was dealing with some routine hassle. I twisted my neck to look up, seeing this middle-aged white guy in a rumpled suit, holding a clipboard, his face set in a frown. He must have come from the back office, drawn by the commotion. The buzz-cut guard shifted his weight on my back, but kept me pinned. "We caught this guy shoplifting, sir. He was acting shady, pocketing stuff from the display. We took him down before he could bolt." I felt a surge of frustration, my arms aching from the zip ties. "That's not true. I was just browsing. Let me explain," I said, trying to keep my voice level, even though the humiliation was eating at me. The man, the store manager, I figured from his name tag that read, Mr. Harlan, didn't even look at me at first. He nodded to the guards, crossing his arms. "Good job, team. We can't have people like him ruining the shopping experience for everyone else." His words stung, that people like him hanging in the air, loaded with all the assumptions I've dealt with my whole life. The crowd murmured more, phones still out, capturing every bit of this mess. The stocky guard stood up a little, but kept his hand on my shoulder. "Should we call for backup, boss? This one's putting up a fuss." Mr. Harlan glanced around at the growing crowd, his lips tightening. "Yeah, radio it in. And search him. Make sure he didn't stash anything else." I shook my head as much as I could. "You can't just search me without cause. I didn't do anything wrong." But the buzz-cut guard was already patting down my pockets, rough and invasive, right there in front of everyone. He pulled out my wallet first, flipping it open quickly, then my phone from my back pocket, and some loose change. "Nothing here but personal stuff," he muttered, sounding almost disappointed. Mr. Harlan stepped closer, peering down at the items on the floor. "Doesn't prove a thing. He could have ditched it already. Or maybe he's working with someone." I locked eyes with him, my face hot from the stares all around. "Check the cameras, man. They'll show I didn't touch a damn thing beyond looking." He dismissed me with a wave, turning to the guards. "Ignore that. These types always have an excuse ready." The whispers in the crowd picked up, some people shifting uncomfortably, others nodding like they bought the story. I could hear snippets. Why would security tackle him if he was innocent? And poor guy. But you never know. It stripped away another layer of my dignity, lying there exposed, judged by strangers. The buzz-cut guard grabbed his radio, pressing the button with a click. "Security team, we need backup at Electronics Emporium. Possible thief in custody, resisting." Static crackled back with a quick "on our way." I felt my stomach twist. The situation was snowballing. And I hadn't even gotten a chance to stand up. This is escalating for no reason. "I'm not resisting. I'm just asking for fairness," I said, directing it at Mr. Harlan. He finally looked me in the eye, his expression cold. "Fairness? You caused a scene in my store. We're following protocol." The stocky guard chuckled under his breath. "Yeah, protocol for handling troublemakers." I tried to shift my weight, the tile floor digging into my ribs, but the guards held firm. The public stares weighed on me like lead, my shirt damp with sweat now. The cool air doing nothing to help. A couple of shoppers edged closer, one woman saying softly, "This seems excessive." He wasn't even running. But Mr. Harlan shot her a glare. "Ma'am, please step back. This is under control." She backed off, but her phone stayed up, recording. I appreciated the small show of doubt, but it didn't change the fact that I was still down here, treated like a criminal. Years of this subtle crap, being followed in stores, questioned extra at checkouts, had prepared me for suspicion, but not this outright takedown. The manager bent down slightly, picking up my wallet to inspect it closer, his fingers rifling through the cards. "No ID that looks fake, huh?" He tossed it back to the floor carelessly. "Doesn't matter. We'll let the pros sort it out. I clenched my jaw. You're making a mistake. That wallet has everything you need to see I'm legit. But he just straightened up, signaling to the guards. Keep him secure. Backup should be here any second. The crowd's whispers turned into a low hum, more phones flashing, and I felt utterly stripped. My privacy invaded, my word dismissed. It was like all those times I'd been profiled, but amplified, playing out for an audience. As the seconds dragged, I heard more footsteps echoing from the mall corridor outside the store, getting louder. The guards perked up, one saying, "Here they come." Mr. Harlan smoothed his suit, looking satisfied. "Finally, let's get this wrapped up." I took a deep breath, knowing things were about to get worse before they got better. The weight of those stairs pressing harder. The footsteps from the mall corridor grew louder, and two more security guards rushed into the store, their boots thudding against the tile. They were both big guys, one with a mustache and the other sporting a ponytail, looking ready for action as they scanned the scene. The buzz-cut guard waved them over. "Over here, guys. We've got a shoplifter who's getting mouthy. Help us secure him." I felt my pulse quicken, still pinned to the floor with the stocky guard's knee in my back. The zip ties biting deeper into my wrists. Mr. Harlan stepped forward, pointing at me like I was some exhibit. "This man's causing a major disturbance. I want him out of here now. Escort him off the premises immediately." The new guards nodded without question, the mustache one grabbing my arm roughly to haul me up while the ponytail guy took the other side. Pain shot through my shoulders as they yanked, the original guards stepping back but staying close. "Easy, man. You're hurting me," I said through gritted teeth, trying to stand without stumbling. But they ignored that, tightening their grips until I could feel bruises forming under their fingers, my skin pinching hard. The crowd shifted, more whispers spreading like wildfire. This is getting out of hand. And why are they being so rough? Phones kept recording, lights flashing in my eyes, making the whole thing feel like a bad reality show. Mr. Harlan crossed his arms, his voice rising. "You heard me? Remove him. He's disrupted business long enough." I locked eyes with him as they started dragging me toward the store exit, my feet scraping the floor. "This is wrong. You're escalating this for nothing. I didn't steal a thing. And now you're accusing me of a disturbance? That's on you guys for tackling me." He smirked, following us a few steps, his clipboard tucked under his arm. "Oh, please. You waltz in here looking like you do, poking around expensive items. Who wouldn't be suspicious? This is an upscale mall, not some discount joint. People like you don't belong in places like this." His words hit like a slap, dripping with that overt bias I've heard too many times, questioning my right to even be there based on my appearance. The crowd gasped audibly now, a few people muttering in disagreement, but no one intervened. The mustache guard squeezed my arm harder, sending a fresh wave of pain up to my elbow. "Quit squirming, or we'll make this worse," he growled low, his breath smelling like coffee. I wasn't squirming. I was just trying to keep my balance as they pulled me along, my knees still aching from the initial fall. "I'm not squirming. You're the ones manhandling me without cause," I shot back, my voice steady but anger bubbling up inside. Years of dealing with this crap, the stares, the assumptions, the extra pat-downs at airports, had me boiling now, but I kept it contained, knowing blowing up would play right into their narrative. Mr. Harlan laughed outright, loud enough for the whole store to hear. "Without cause? Look at you, baggy clothes, hanging around the displays like you're casing the joint. Why else would a guy like you be in here if not to cause trouble?" We were halfway to the door now, the ponytail guard twisting my wrist just enough to make me wince. Bruises were definitely forming, dark spots I could already imagine blooming on my dark skin later. The stocky guard from before hovered nearby, radio in hand. "Should we call the cops, boss? This could turn ugly." Mr. Harlan nodded vigorously, pulling out his phone. "Absolutely. Dial them up. Tell them we've got a trespasser who's resisting removal and causing a scene." He tapped the screen, putting it to his ear, his eyes never leaving me. "Yes, police? This is the manager at Electronics Emporium in the mall. We've detained a suspect for theft and disturbance. He's black, about 35, wearing a hoodie and jeans. Send officers quick, he's getting aggressive. Aggressive? I hadn't raised a hand or my voice beyond protesting. That's a lie. I'm not aggressive, you tackled me out of nowhere, I said, directing it at the crowd as much as him, hoping someone would back me up. A few nods from onlookers, but Mr. Harlan waved them off. Don't listen to him. He's just trying to play the victim. This mall is for serious shoppers, not loiterers who look out of place. His mockery ramped up, gesturing at my clothes like they were evidence. I mean, come on, those sneakers, that jacket? You stick out like a sore thumb. No wonder security acted fast. The bias was blatant now, fueling my inner rage like gasoline on a fire. I could feel it igniting, that deep-seated anger from every time I'd been profiled. But I channeled it into staying calm, making viewers, if this went viral, root for me to turn this around. The guards dragged me closer to the exit, their holds tightening with each step, my arms throbbing now from the pressure. Let go a bit, you're bruising me bad, I said, wincing as the mustache guy dug his thumb in. He just grunted. Protocol, buddy, stop resisting. The crowd followed at a distance, phones up, one guy yelling, "This ain't right, let him go." But Mr. Harlan shouted over him, "Everyone, clear out. Show's over. Go back to shopping." He hung up the phone, smirking at me. Cops are en route. You'll be out of here in cuffs soon enough. Should have thought twice before coming to a place like this. His arrogance peaked, questioning my presence in this upscale world, as if I needed permission to shop. It made my blood boil, that entitlement, but I bit back a retort, saving my energy. As we reached the store threshold, the ponytail guard radioed again. Suspect en route to mall exit. Police notified? Pain radiated from my arms, the bruises setting in deep, and the public humiliation peaked with every stare and whisper. Mr. Harlan stood there, hands on hips, looking triumphant. Get him gone. I don't want his kind scaring off customers. The rage inside me flared hotter, pushing me to my breaking point, but I held on, knowing this brazen crap would backfire eventually. Then in the distance, I heard sirens faintly approaching, growing steadier. The sirens wailed closer until they cut off right outside the store, and two police officers burst through the mall entrance, their boots echoing as they hurried toward us at the threshold. One was a tall woman with a tight ponytail, her face set in a no-nonsense expression, and the other a shorter man with a goatee, both scanning the scene with hands hovering near their belts. Mr. Harlan straightened up, his smug grin widening as he waved them over. Officers over here. This guy's the one shoplifting suspect, resisted security, caused a huge disturbance. The ponytail officer looked me up and down, noting the zip ties on my wrists and the bruises starting to show on my arms from the guards. Rough handling. All right, what happened? She asked, her tone clipped, while her partner pulled out a notepad. The buzzcut guard jumped in quick, still gripping my elbow. We saw him acting suspicious, pocketing merchandise. Tackled him before he could run, he put up a fight, swinging at us. I shook my head, the pain in my shoulder flaring up from the initial slam to the floor. That's not true, officers. I was just browsing. They jumped me without warning. Look at my arms. These bruises are from them. But Mr. Harlan cut me off, stepping forward with that clipboard like it was his shield. Don't listen to him. We've got witnesses and footage that'll back it up. He doesn't belong in a place like this anyway. Look at how he's dressed. The goatee officer nodded slowly, relying on their story, and pulled out handcuffs. Sir, we're detaining you for now based on the report. Procedure? We'll sort it at the station if needed. He cut the zip ties with a tool, but immediately clicked the cold metal cuffs around my wrists. Tighter than necessary, making the raw skin sting even more. They grabbed my arms, the ponytail officer on one side and her partner on the other, and started leading me out into the mall corridor, away from the store. Shoppers paused mid-stride, staring openly as we passed, some whispering behind their hands, others pulling out phones to film the spectacle. I felt my face burn with humiliation, being paraded like this in handcuffs, my torn shirt and bruised arms on full display under the bright mall lights. Mr. Harlan followed a few steps behind, watching with that satisfied smirk, his eyes gleaming like he'd won some game. Make sure he gets what's coming, officers. We run a clean operation here, no room for troublemakers. Buzz. The guards trailed us too, the stocky one carrying my wallet and phone from the earlier search, holding them like trophies. As we moved through the corridor, the chaos of voices and footsteps swirling around us, I twisted toward the stocky guard. Hey, can I use my phone real quick? I need to call my wife, let her know what's going on. He glanced at the officers, who nodded reluctantly. Make it fast, the goatee officer said, but we're watching. The guard handed me the phone and I fumbled with my cuffed hands to dial her number. The screen smudged from the scuffle. It rang once, twice, 3 times, my heart pounding harder with each tone. Then went straight to voicemail, her cheerful greeting cutting through the noise. Hey, it's Lisa. Leave a message. I swallowed hard, the call dropping unanswered. Probably because she was busy with the kids or at work. No answer, I muttered. Feeling a fresh wave of isolation hit me as the guard snatched the phone back. That's enough. You'll get your call later at the station. Mr. Harlan chuckled from behind. Tough luck. Maybe she knows better than to pick up. They steered me further down the corridor, past more gawking shoppers, the air thick with the scent of food court grease and perfume, until we reached a side door marked Security Only. The ponytail officer pushed it open, revealing a narrow hallway leading to the mall's holding area, a small, stuffy room near the back exit with gray walls, a single metal bench chained to the floor, and a desk piled with monitors and paperwork. In here, the goatee officer said, guiding me to the bench and cuffing one of my hands to a ring bolted into the wall. The bruises on my arms throbbed worse now, dark purple marks blooming where the guards had squeezed, and my knee ached from the tackle, making it hard to sit straight. We'll take your statement soon, but sit tight for now, the ponytail officer added, her voice matter-of-fact as she jotted something on her notepad. They stepped out, leaving the door slightly ajar, probably to keep an eye on me. I slumped against the wall, the cold metal seeping through my shirt, breathing heavy as the full weight of the humiliation crashed over me. Handcuffed in this dingy room, cut off from my family, with no one believing a word I said, it felt like the world had turned against me, for no reason other than how I looked. Whispers from the corridor filtered in through the cracked door. Mr. Harlan's voice low but clear, talking to the buzz-cut guard. Let's get that report squared away. Note the resistance standard wording for these cases. Say he tried to flee and caused a disturbance, trespass too. Make it clean so it sticks. The guard murmured agreement. Yeah, add that he swung first. We've got the bruises to show for it. Wait, no, he didn't. But who's checking? Officers seemed to buy it. Their voices faded as they moved to the desk outside, papers rustling while they wrote. He out is attack grust, deepening the injustice like they were building a wall around the truth. I strained to listen, catching fragments over the hum of the monitors. Disturbance charge will cover the tackle. Yeah, write it up that way. My mind raced back to the stairs in the mall, the way everyone assumed I was guilty. The unanswered call to my wife leaving me utterly alone in this mess. The fabricated details they were layering on, resistance, fleeing, disturbance, it all stacked against me, making escape feel impossible. Bruises pulsed with every heartbeat, a reminder of the excessive force, and despair settled in deep like I was buried under it all. How would I explain this to my kids if it went further? The room felt smaller, the air stale, and doubt crept in. Maybe they'd get away with twisting everything. I sat there, isolated and stripped of any control, hitting my absolute lowest, wondering if there was any way out of this nightmare. I sat there on that hard metal bench in the holding room, the cuff chaining my hand to the wall ring, pulling tight every time I tried to shift for some relief. The bruises on my arms burned like fire, dark welts from the guard's grips that made me grit my teeth against the pain, and my shoulder still throbbed from hitting the floor during the tackle. The stale air in the room felt heavy, closing in on me, and for a moment, The despair from everything, the stares, the lies, the unanswered call to my wife, threatened to swallow me whole. But then, as I stared at the gray wall, something clicked inside. I'd spent years dealing with this kind of bias, staying silent to avoid making waves. But today, that silence had let them push me to the edge. No more. I composed myself, taking slow breaths to steady my racing heart, realizing I had to fight back instead of just enduring it, use what I had hidden, turn this around smart, without blowing everything right away. My mind cleared, focusing on the plan forming. I couldn't stay passive anymore. These people thought they had me cornered, but I knew better. The wallet they'd searched earlier sat on the desk outside, visible through the cracked door. And inside it was my leverage, tucked away in a concealed flap where no quick flip would spot it. I decided right then to use it strategically, reveal it only when the timing hit perfect, after getting some backup in place. But first, I needed to reach out for support. Contact someone who could start pulling strings without me spilling details here. It had to be discreet, coded just enough to pass if anyone overheard, because I wasn't ready to show all my cards yet. The officers were out there shuffling papers, and I heard fragments of talk, but I pushed that aside, honing in on my next move. I banged my free hand on the bench, the metal echoing loud in the small room. "Hey, officer, I need my phone again. Rights say I get a call for help." Footsteps came closer, and the ponytail officer swung the door open wider, her face skeptical as she stood there with arms crossed. "You already called your wife, no answer. What's this about?" I kept my expression neutral, not giving away the shift inside me. "Legal help. A contact who can advise me. It's quick." She glanced back at her partner, who shrugged from the desk. "Fine, but make it fast. I'm holding the phone and it's on speaker. No funny business." She grabbed my phone from the pile on the desk, where they'd stashed it after the search, and dialed the number I gave her, holding it up close, but out of my reach. The chain on my cuff rattled as I leaned in. It rang twice, and a familiar voice picked up, neutral and professional. "Ray here." I spoke low but clear, knowing she was listening. "It's Jamal. Got a situation? Mall detainment? Bad stop. Need quiet assist? Pull what you can without noise." There was a brief pause on the line, then Ray's voice came back steady. "Understood. Location?" I gave it quick. "Uptown Mall, electronics store. Keep it low-key for now." He confirmed. "On it. Hang tight." The call cut after maybe 20 seconds, and the officer pulled the phone away, eyeing me hard. "That didn't sound like a lawyer. Who was that?" I shrugged as best I could with the cuff. "Just a contact who knows the system. You'll see soon enough." She pocketed the phone again, shaking her head. "Better hope so. You're not going anywhere yet." She stepped out, leaving the door ajar like before, the click of her boots fading down the hall. With that done, a weight lifted off my chest, the resolve settling in deep. I'd made the decision to strike back, planted the first quiet signal for support without tipping my hand. But I was still stuck here, physically powerless, the cuff biting into my skin and the bruises reminding me how low they dragged me. The isolation wasn't fully broken yet. My wife's voicemail from earlier echoed in my head, leaving me without that family anchor. I flexed my free fingers, ignoring the ache, knowing I'd set things in motion. Outside through the cracked door, I caught Mr. Harlan's voice drifting in again, louder now as he talked to the guards near the desk. "That was a quick resolution, fellas. Handled it fast. We did what we had to with that troublemaker." The buzz-cut guard laughed along. "Yeah, boss. Standard write-up got it covered. No mess left behind." Mr. Harlan's tone turned boastful, his words carrying clear into the room. "See? That's how you keep the store running smooth. Guy comes in looking out of place, security steps up, and boom, problem solved. Tell the staff I said good job. We don't tolerate that kind around here." The stocky guard chimed in. "Will do. You want us to post about the quick handle in the break room? Shows we're on top of things." Mr. Harlan chuckled, sounding pleased with himself. "Sure, why not? Boast a little. We handled that troublemaker like pros. Makes everyone feel secure." Their celebration grated on me. That triumphant attitude like they'd already won. believing they were untouchable for pushing their biased narrative. It heightened the irritation boiling inside, making me want to see their faces when things flipped. But I stayed quiet, composing myself further, the decision locked in. The goatee officer walked by the door then, clipboard in hand. "Your contact better hurry if he's real. Report's almost done, looks solid against you." I nodded, calm, not rising to it. "It'll be fine, just wait." He snorted and kept going. But I felt the shift complete, no longer drowning in despair. I was ready to counter. They'd oppressed me long enough. But now, with that call out there, the balance was starting to tilt, even if I couldn't move yet. The manager's boasting echoed one more time. "Yeah, we aced that one. Troublemakers don't stand a chance here." It fueled me more, that arrogance. But I held steady, knowing my strategic play was underway. Still chained to this bench, powerless for the moment, I waited for the first signs of support to roll in. I stayed chained to that bench in the holding room, the cuff rubbing my wrist raw as I waited. My mind sharp now after deciding to fight back. The bruises on my arms pulsed with every small movement, a constant reminder of the guard's rough hands and the tackle that started this nightmare. But I pushed the pain aside, focusing on the plan. That call to Ray had set things in motion, and I knew he'd come through quietly, pulling what I needed without alerting anyone here. The door was still ajar, letting in snippets of chatter from the hallway where Mr. Harlan and the guards lingered, their voices smug as they wrapped up paperwork. I leaned forward as much as the chain allowed, straining to hear if anything new was brewing out there. Minutes dragged on, the room's stuffy air making me sweat under my torn shirt, until my phone buzzed faintly from the desk outside where the ponytail officer had pocketed it. Again, I banged the bench once more. "Officer! My phone's going off. Might be that contact calling back. Let me check it." She stepped in, her expression wary, pulling the phone from her pocket and glancing at the screen. "Unknown number again. Fine, but speaker? And keep it short." She held it up, dialing into the call on speaker, close enough for me to talk but not touch. Ray's voice came through low and steady. "Jamal, got access. Sending secure link now, check your messages." Confirms the tackle, no theft. Plus some history on the manager. I nodded, even though he couldn't see. "Good. Witnesses?" He paused. "Working on that bystander vids popping up online. I'll forward contacts." The officer frowned deeper. "What kind of history? This sounds shady." I kept it neutral. "Just facts to clear this up, thanks, Ray." The call ended quick, under 30 seconds, and she snatched the phone back. No more calls. "Whatever you're up to, it better be legit. Yeah, fine." She stepped out, but not before I saw a text notification flash on the screen, Ray's secure link. She must have missed it in her hurry because, a moment later, the goatee officer came in with my phone, tossing it onto the bench just within my reach. "Your contact texted. Read it," but no replying. "We're watching." I stretched my free hand, grabbing the phone and opening the message discreetly, angling the screen away from the door. The link opened to a secure portal through my professional channels, loading mall surveillance footage that Ray had pulled fast. I watched silently, the grainy video showing me calmly browsing the smartwatch display, hands visible the whole time, no pocketing anything. Then the guards rushing in, tackling me hard to the floor without warning, their shouts about theft echoing even in the silent clip. It confirmed everything, the unjust attack, the excessive force that left these bruises. My heart raced with that first tilt in power. This wasn't just my word anymore. I saved the file to the phone's secure folder, knowing it would dismantle their lies. Ray's message also included a quick note on Mr. Harlan, a history of similar complaints, pulled from public records and internal reports. 3 past incidents where shoppers, mostly people of color, filed bias claims against him. Dismissed as protocol, but patterns clear as day. One even mentioned rough handling by security under his watch. This was gold, uncovering the manager's track record of biased crap. The kind that built up over years, like the stairs I've endured. I felt the balance shifting inside me, that quiet preparation turning isolation into strength. But I kept my face blank, not letting on as I deleted the message trail. Just in case they checked later, the officer poked his head in. "Done?" Hand it over. I passed the phone back. Yeah, nothing big. He took it, muttering, better hope so, and left the door cracked again. Outside, I heard footsteps shuffling and a new voice, a bystander maybe, talking to the guards. I recorded the whole thing on my phone. That guy didn't steal. Your team jumped him. The buzz-cut guard's tone turned sharp. Ma'am, that's not your business. We're handling it. But she pushed back. I posted it online already. People are commenting. Looks bad for the mall. Mr. Harlan's voice joined in, irritated. What? Show me. Papers rustled. Then a phone video played faintly, the sounds matching what I'd just seen in the footage. This is nothing standard procedure, Mr. Harlan said, but his voice cracked a bit, less smug now. Tell her to delete it. The woman laughed. Too late, it's viral. And I gave my statement to that other cop. I smirked to myself, realizing Ray must have nudged this along somehow, gathering witness statements through channels. Without me lifting a finger here, I discreetly noted her name from the chatter, Mrs. Ellis, and memorized it for later. Ray's next text buzzed in before they could grab the phone again, but the officer was distracted outside. I glanced quick. Links to 2 more bystander videos, uploaded to social media, showing the tackle from different angles, crowds gasping as the guards pinned me. One even captured Mr. Harlan's "your type" comment clear as day. I saved those too. The evidence piling up quietly, surveillance confirming no theft, witnesses backing the unjust force, and Harlan's bias history tying it all together. The power dynamic was tilting now, no longer me against their word. I had proof stacking up, ready to shift everything. But I stayed composed, chaining my excitement down, knowing this preparation was key before the first blow. The ponytail officer came back in, grabbing the phone from the bench where I'd set it. Enough with the buzzing, turning this off. But she'd missed the saves, and I didn't argue. Fine. Just waiting now. She eyed me suspicious but left, the door ajar once more. Through it, I heard Mr. Harlan snapping at the guards. Get those videos down, contact the platform. We can't have this blowing up. The stocky guard replied. Boss, it's spreading. Comments are calling it profiling. Harlan huffed. Nonsense. We followed rules. But fine, check his background, make sure our report holds. Their unease was palpable now. That quiet crack in their confidence as my gathered evidence began to tilt things my way without them knowing. I leaned back against the wall, the bruises still aching but feeling less heavy, the shift starting to build. Another bystander voice filtered in, a young guy this time. I saw it all too. Got my vid here, want to add to the statement? The goatee officer sighed. All right, let's take it. But keep it factual. I heard typing, probably logging the witness details, and it hit me how this was snowballing. Ray's work, combined with the public's recordings, was gathering momentum, uncovering more on Harlan's past complaints as I sat here. One report Ray sent mentioned a lawsuit settled quietly last year, same bias, same store. The balance was shifting for real, my quiet prep turning their triumph into doubt. I flexed my free hand, ready for the next step. The evidence locked in my phone's secure spot, even if they had the device. As the chatter outside grew tenser, Mr. Harlan's voice rising in frustration over the viral clips. I knew the power was starting to even out, but I held still, gathering mentally, waiting for the right moment to land that first counterblow. I leaned against the cold wall in that cramped holding room, the handcuffs still chaining one wrist to the bench ring, tugging every time I shifted to ease the throbbing in my bruised arms. The marks from the guards' grips had darkened now, purple swells that stung like hell under my torn shirt sleeve, and my shoulder ached from the initial slam to the floor, a sharp reminder of how quickly things had spiraled. But with the evidence Ray had sent saved on my phone, that short surveillance clip, a bystander video snippet, and notes on Harlan's bias complaints, I felt a quiet surge of control starting to build, even as the voices outside grew more agitated with talk of viral posts. The ponytail officer was pacing in the hallway, her radio crackling with updates, and I could hear Mr. Harlan snapping at someone about handling the crowd. I kept my breathing steady, my anger controlled into focus, waiting for the right moment to make my first move without tipping everything. Suddenly, heavier footsteps echoed down the corridor, purposeful and quick, and the door swung open wider. A new officer stepped in, a broad-shouldered woman with a sergeant's stripes on her uniform, her name tag reading Sergeant Diaz. Her face set in a hard line as she scanned the room, eyes landing on me in the cuffs. The ponytail officer straightened up fast behind her. "Sarge, this is the detainee manager's report on theft and disturbance. We're holding him pending statements." Sergeant Diaz nodded curt, pulling out a notepad. "I got a call from dispatch about this one. Viral videos blowing up online. Complaints coming in about excessive force. Witnesses out there insisting on talking. Let's see the report." Harlan pushed his way in right after, his suit rumpled and face flushed. Clipboard clutched tight like a shield. "Sergeant, good you're here. Our security acted properly. He was suspicious. We followed protocol." I sat up straighter, the chain rattling softly. "That's not the whole story, Sergeant. I've got something you need to see first." She turned to me, her expression neutral but attentive. "All right, what have you got? Make it quick, I'm verifying everything." The goatee officer handed over my phone from the desk, where they'd kept it after the last check, and I nodded toward it with my free hand. "Play the message link. It's a short clip from the mall cams. Just 10 seconds. Shows me browsing, no theft, Sergeant." Diaz took the phone, tapping the screen, and the grainy video started. Me calmly turning the smartwatch over, hands empty. Then the guards rushing in and slamming me down hard, their shouts muffled but clear. She watched it twice, her jaw tightening. "This doesn't show any pocketing. And that tackle looks rough. Knee in the back? Who's the lead guard on this?" The buzz-cut guard hovered in the doorway, his face tightening. "I was, Sarge." He looked like he was about to bolt, standard takedown. Diaz shook her head slow. "Standard? No resistance here. Manager, you called this in as theft. Where's the evidence?" Harlan stepped closer, his voice pitching up a notch, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool air. "The clip's probably edited. He was lingering, baggy clothes, not our usual shopper. Guards saw him stuff something. We searched, but he could have ditched it." I kept my tone even, locking eyes with Diaz. "No editing, Sergeant, that's raw feed. And I know procedure, my work requires discretion in places like this." Observing without drawing attention. "You might want to verify my ID with your supervisor line. It'll clear some things up." She glanced at me sharp, her pen pausing over the notepad, but didn't press further. Just nodded subtle. "Noted. We'll check that. But right now, this clip raises questions about the force used." Guards step in, explain the bruises on his arms. The stocky guard shuffled forward, his grip on his radio tightening. He resisted a bit, twisting away. Nothing major. I shook my head calm. Didn't resist. They piled on before I could speak. That video backs it. Diaz turned back to Harlan, her voice firm. "Manager, your report said he caused a disturbance post-tackle. But if the initial stop was bad, that cascades. I've got witnesses outside saying the same. No theft, just profiling." Harlan's hands fidgeted with his clipboard, papers crinkling loud in the quiet room. "Profiling? Nonsense, we protect the store. Upscale mall, can't risk it with types who don't fit." His words hung heavy, loaded like before, and I felt my controlled anger flicker. But I stayed steady, watching him start to unravel. The ponytail officer shifted uncomfortably. "Sarge, the viral stuff matches this clip. Comments are calling it bias." Harlan shot her a glare. "Those are just phones. Could be faked. Our security's trained. I stand by them." "Okay," but his voice wavered, eyes darting to the door where more chatter filtered in. Bystanders murmuring about videos spreading. I leaned forward as much as the cuff allowed, my free hand gesturing toward the phone. "Sergeant, there's more if you dig. History of similar complaints here? But start with that clip. It's enough to question their actions." Diaz pocketed the phone for now, her expression hardening. "Agreed. This isn't adding up. Guards, no more contact with him. He's detained pending review. But loosen that cuff a bit. No need for tight restraint if he's cooperating." The goatee officer adjusted the chain, giving me a little slack, though I was still locked to the bench, technically held, but out of their direct grip. Harlan paced a step, his breath coming quicker. You can't take his word. He's got some contact pulling strings, smells off. I met his stare level. My contact's just helping with facts. Like I said, my work deals with discretion. Run that ID check, and you'll see. Diaz held up a hand. Enough. Harlan, security, stay put. We're pulling the full mall CCTV now to verify this clip against the rest. Harlan froze, his face paling further. Full feed? That'll take time. Our report should suffice. But Diaz was already radioing it in. Dispatch, need all cams from Electronics Emporium last hour. And round up those witnesses for statements? The tension thickened, my calm holding steady as Harlan wiped sweat from his brow. The guards exchanging uneasy glances, the air buzzing with the promise that the truth was about to be played out in full. I watched Sergeant Diaz radio in for the full CCTV pull, her voice cutting through the tension in the holding room like a knife, and Harlan's face twisted even more, his sweaty hands gripping that clipboard so tight the papers crinkled. The cuff on my wrist had some slack now, but I was still chained to the bench, my bruised arms throbbing under the fluorescent lights that buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the gray walls. Outside in the hallway, I could hear the bystanders getting louder, their phones out as more people gathered, whispering about the viral videos that showed the tackle in all its ugly detail. Diaz turned back to me, her notepad flipped open. All right, let's start with your side. Walk me through it while we wait for the feeds. I nodded steady, keeping my voice calm despite the rage still simmering from the way they'd pinned me down like an animal. I was browsing gadgets, Sergeant. No touching beyond looking. Guards rushed me, accused theft, ignored my protests, bruised me bad. Look at these arms. Harlan jumped in quick, his tone defensive and high-pitched. That's his story. Our protocol is solid, suspicious behavior triggers response. He fit the profile, lingering too long in that hoodie. Diaz shot him a look. Profile? Careful with that word, manager. Witnesses say no theft. And this clip he showed, it's damning. I leaned forward as much as the chain allowed, the metal rattling against the bench. Sergeant, I've got more. Play the next link on my phone, bystander video, catches his comments clear. She tapped the screen, and the audio filled the room. Harlan's voice from earlier. Your type always tries something slick. Right after the search found nothing. The ponytail officer winced visibly, crossing her arms. That sounds biased, sir. Not good. Harlan waved it off frantic. Out of context. I meant thieves, not race. We treat everyone the same here. Upscale place. Got to protect inventory. The goatee officer stepped in from the doorway, holding a tablet now. Sarge, partial feeds coming in. Dispatch sent a preview. Matches his clip. Diaz grabbed it, swiping through, her eyes narrowing as the full sequence played. Me entering the store calm, picking up the watch, then the guards barreling in without a word, slamming me to the floor. No stolen items, no suspicious moves, just me, black and browsing. This proves no theft, Diaz said firm, holding the tablet up for Harlan to see. And the force? Excessive. Explain why your team ignored his protests. Harlan's face drained color, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. They thought he was resisting. Standard training, better safe than sorry with folks who look out of place. I locked eyes with him, my voice even but cutting. Out of place? Because I'm black in your fancy mall? That's profiling, Harlan. And those bystander clips, they catch you mocking my clothes, questioning why I'm even here. Diaz nodded slow, jotting notes. I've seen enough initial feeds to question this detainment. Guards in here, buzzcut, stocky, you led the tackle? The buzzcut guard shuffled in, his uniform damp under the arms, avoiding my gaze. Yeah, but he was pocketing, thought we saw it. I shook my head. Lie. Video shows my hands empty. Play it again, Sergeant. Highlight the profiling. She did, zooming in on the moment they pinned me. Shoppers gasping in the background. And Harlan arriving to side with them without a question. The room fell quiet as it looped, the truth hitting like a wave, dismantling their false story piece by piece. Harlan tried to interject. This is twisted. Those cams miss context. We get shoplifters daily, mostly, well, certain types. Can't risk the store's rep. Diaz raised an eyebrow. Certain types? You're digging deeper, manager. This footage highlights racial bias clear. No theft, just assumptions. The stocky guard piped up nervous, his radio crackling, unused in his hand. Boss, maybe we jumped too quick? But you said to remove him fast. Harlan glared at him. Shut it. I said follow protocol, escort out disturbances. I felt a rush inside. That satisfaction building as their unity cracked. My calm words pushing the exposure further. Disturbance? I was shopping peaceful until your team assaulted me. Sergeant, check the bias history too. Notes on my phone. Public records show 3 complaints against him. Similar stops on people of color. Diaz scrolled quick, her face hardening. Yeah, patterns here. Harlan, your attempts to downplay this are faltering. Sit down, we're getting statements now. He slumped into a chair, wiping his forehead with a shaky hand. This can't stand. Our mall's elite, no room for accusations like this. He's making it racial to weasel out. Mrs. Ellis, the older bystander from earlier, poked her head in then, phone in hand. Officer, I recorded it all. Want to add my statement? He did nothing wrong. Diaz waved her in. Perfect timing. Tell us what you saw. Ellis nodded at me, sympathetic. He was just looking at watches, calm as can be. Guards tackled him hard, no warning. Manager showed up, dismissed him right away, called him your type. Felt wrong. Harlan leaned forward, desperate. Ma'am, you misheard. We handle threats quick to keep shoppers safe like you. But Ellis shook her head firm. No mishearing. Videos online now, thousands viewing, people calling it racism. The young guy from the crowd joined in the doorway. Me too, my clip shows the bruises starting, them twisting his arms. No resistance from him. Diaz turned the tablet toward Harlan again. See? Truth's coming out. Your narrative's crumbling under this scrutiny. Harlan's voice cracked. But we found nothing because he hid it well. Or maybe no theft, but the disturbance after yelling causing a scene. I countered quick. Yelling? Protesting innocence while pinned. Your downplay won't work. Videos prove the profiling, the bias. The tension peaked, guards shifting uneasy. Harlan's eyes wide as more witnesses filtered statements through the open door. Diaz radioed again. Dispatch, need body cam reviews from responding officers too. This incident's escalating. Harlan stood up abrupt, clipboard dropping with a clatter. You can't do this. Our lawyers will fight it. Protocol protects us. But his bluster rang hollow, faltering as Diaz ignored him, focusing on the growing evidence. I stayed seated, chain still holding me, but the rush of satisfaction hit strong, watching their false story dismantle bit by bit, the truth exposing the rot. The ponytail officer murmured to Diaz, Sarge, this looks bad for them. His hints about work, should we verify? Diaz nodded. Soon. For now, lock in these statements. Harlan tried one last push. Wait, those clips are selective? Full context shows he didn't belong. I smiled faint. Belong? That's the core, your bias assuming I don't. Truth's out now, Harlan. He sat back down defeated, the room humming with unease. Witnesses nodding in agreement. Diaz gathered the tablet and phone. All right, we're compiling this. Harlan, security, no leaving till we sort it. Or the exposure felt electric, their attempts failing under the weight of videos and words, satisfaction building as the narrative flipped. The holding room buzzed with that thick tension, the fluorescent lights humming overhead like they were feeding off the unease, casting long shadows across the gray walls where Sergeant Diaz stood compiling the bystander statements on her notepad, the tablet in her other hand still glowing with those damning video clips that showed the tackle in raw detail. My arms throbbed from the bruises, those dark purple marks swelling where the guards had dug their knees and fingers in, and the slack in my cuff let me flex my free hand a bit. But I stayed chained to the bench, my torn shirt sticking to my skin with dried sweat from the ordeal. Harlan paced back and forth near the door, his clipboard clutched tight. His face flushed red as he shot glances at the guards hovering outside. Their radios silent now, like they knew the narrative was slipping away. Misses, Ellis and the young guy had just wrapped up their testimonies, their words hanging in the air about how I'd done nothing wrong, just shopped like anyone else. And Harlan snapped at Diaz. This is all cherry-picked. Those videos miss the full context. Our protocol kicks in for suspicious behavior. He was lingering, hands in pockets. Reasonable suspicion all the way. Chain of custody on that evidence better hold, or our lawyers will tear this apart. I felt that controlled fury rising again. The same heat from when they'd pinned me to the cold tile floor in front of everyone, stripping my dignity like it was nothing. But I kept it locked down, waiting for the perfect beat to turn it loose. Diaz looked up from her notes, her voice steady. Suspicion? The feeds and witnesses say otherwise, Harlan. No theft, just assumptions. We're logging all this, videos, statements, even your past complaints, as evidence. Sit tight, no one's leaving till we verify. Harlan stopped pacing, pointing at me with a shaky finger. Verify what? His story's full of holes. He's got some shady contact feeding him this stuff. Store policy protects us. We had every right to detain. If anything, sue him for disrupting business. The buzz-cut guard nodded from the doorway, his face tense. Yeah, Sarge, he twisted during the takedown, could have been resisting. Don't let him spin this. That was it. Their resistance pushing me to the edge, trying to bury the truth under more lies. And I knew holding back any longer would let them regain ground. I stretched my free hand toward my wallet, still sitting on the desk where they'd tossed it after the earlier search, the chain rattling loud in the quiet room. Sergeant, hand me that wallet. Time to clear this up for real? Diaz picked it up cautious, glancing inside quick before passing it over. All right, but keep it visible. I flipped open the concealed flap, the one tucked behind a false panel that any quick pat-down would have missed, and pulled out my FBI badge, the gold shield catching the light as I held it up high enough for everyone to see. I'm Special Agent Jamal Washington, FBI. I was in your mall undercover for an unrelated investigation, tracking a fraud ring operating in the area. Nothing to do with your store or security. But your team's bias turned my routine surveillance into this assault. The room froze like someone hit pause on the chaos, and Diaz's eyes widened as she took the badge from me, turning it over to check the engraving, her fingers tracing the edges. FBI? That explains the professional channels for the footage. We'll verify this right now. Protocol demands it. Harlan let out a sharp laugh, but it came out forced, his eyes darting to the badge like it was a bomb. Come on, that's got to be counterfeit. Guys like him don't carry badges. Reasonable suspicion overrides everything. Our mall's private property. We detain threats regardless of who they claim to be. Videos could be edited, statements coerced. I'll call our legal team to shut this down. The stocky guard shifted uneasy behind him, murmuring low. Boss, if that's real? We didn't check deep enough in the search. I locked eyes with Harlan, my voice cutting through his bluster. Not counterfeit. Call the verification line on the back. My superiors will back it up. You profiled me, assaulted me, all because I didn't fit your upscale vibe. That concealed flap kept it hidden during your rough pat-down. No wonder you missed it. Diaz nodded firm, pulling out her phone and dialing the number etched on the badge, putting it on speaker so the ring echoed off the walls. A voice picked up crisp on the other end. FBI verification desk, how can I assist? Diaz identified herself quick. Sergeant Diaz, local PD. Verifying badge for Special Agent Jamal Washington. Incident at Uptown Mall, detained undercover. The desk officer paused a beat, keys clicking in the background. Confirmed Agent Washington is active, undercover op in progress. Patching to his superior, Agent Ramirez. My contact Ray, short for Ramirez, came on the line next, his voice familiar and steady. This is Agent Ramirez. Washington's our man, op unrelated to the mall, but this sounds like interference. Team en route ETA 5 minutes to corroborate and take over if needed. Harlan's defiance faltered then, his shoulders slumping a bit as he leaned against the desk, sweat trickling down his temple. Higher-ups? This is insane. Store policy says we act on suspicion to protect customers. If he's real, fine. But we had no way to know. Liabilities on him for not identifying sooner. Our lawyers can argue entrapment or something. Turn this back on the feds. I felt the pressure building, that controlled fury turning to a sharp edge as the evidence stacked higher. The videos proving no theft, the witness statements nailing the bias, and now my badge amplifying it all, making their protocol excuses ring hollow. Diaz hung up the call, pocketing her phone. Verified. Harlan guards, no moves till the FBI team arrives. We're securing the scene. Phones, radios. That fabricated report, chain of custody starts now. The buzzcut guard backed up a step, his face paling. Boss, they're coming? Evidence is mounting. Maybe admit the mistake. Harlan shook his head stubborn, but his voice cracked. No admitting reasonable suspicion holds in court, but if superiors corroborate, we negotiate a quiet close. Can't have this blowing up the mall's rep. Mrs. Ellis spoke up from the doorway, her phone still out. Too late for quiet? Videos are everywhere. He deserves better after what you did. The young guy nodded. Yeah, statements locked in. Truth stacking against you. Diaz radioed her team quick. All units, hold positions, FBI inbound for corroboration. No one leaves. Harlan tried to straighten up, arguing one more time. This is overkill. Protocol protected us. Edited clips don't prove bias. I'll contact the owner. Get this reversed. But his words lost steam, defiance crumbling under the weight of the badge, the videos, and the incoming authority, his eyes flicking nervous to the corridor. I rubbed my bruised wrist, the chain still holding me, feeling the shift as their control slipped away, but I kept silent, letting the pressure mount. Ramirez came back on Diaz's radio static. Team 2 minutes out, full support for Agent Washington. Harlan whispered low to the stocky guard. If they're here soon, we're done resisting. The antagonist's front was breaking, evidence and feds piling on, but no final blows yet, just the setup for judgment. Then, from down the hall, I heard the echo of approaching footsteps, heavy and quick, the FBI team closing in on the corridor. The footsteps in the corridor hit a crescendo, and Agent Ramirez strode into the holding room first, his dark suit crisp under the fluorescent lights, flanked by 2 other FBI agents who scanned the space with sharp eyes, their badges glinting like promises of accountability. Ramirez zeroed in on me right away, his face tightening at the sight of the slack cuff still chaining me to the bench, my bruised arms exposed where my shirt had torn during the tackle. Agent Washington status? He asked, his voice cutting through the stuffy air as he moved to unlock the cuff himself, the metal clicking free with a finality that sent relief flooding through my sore wrists. I rubbed the raw skin, standing up slow, the ache in my shoulder from hitting the floor still pulsing, but I kept my back straight, nodding at him. Bruised and pissed, Ray, but intact. Glad you're here. Evidence is all compiled. He glanced at Sergeant Diaz, who handed over the tablet and phone with a nod. FBI's coordinating now. Chain of custodies preserved on the CCTV feeds, bystander videos, witness statements, and that fabricated security report. We're referring this for civil rights review. Diaz turned to Harlan then, her tone all procedure as she pulled out her notepad. Mr. Harlan, based on the evidence, you're placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation into discrimination and excessive force complaints. No contact with mall staff or witnesses. Hand over your keys and badge. Harlan's face went slack, his clipboard trembling in his grip as he fumbled for his pocket, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool draft from the open door. Administrative leave? This is rushed. You can't suspend me without a hearing. We had reasonable suspicion. The guards thought he was stealing. Our policy covers detentions like this. I'll lawyer up, fight it in review. The buzzcut guard shifted uneasy beside him, his radio clutched tight. Boss is right, we followed your lead. If it's pending, does that mean retraining for us too? Diaz nodded firm. Guards, you're on paid leave pending the same investigation. Reprimands issued for now, with mandatory bias retraining ordered if cleared. Turn in your gear. We'll take formal statements at the station. The stocky guard handed over his radio reluctant, muttering low. Didn't mean for it to go this far, just doing the job. Ramirez stepped in smooth. Job doesn't include profiling. FBI's opening an inquiry into the mall's practices. Evidence stacks high here. Harlan tried to rally, straightening his rumpled suit as he glared at me. Inquiry? Fine, but appearance justified the stop. Baggy clothes in an upscale spot scream suspicion. Videos might be edited. We'll prove it in court. This won't stick without more. But Ramirez shook his head. Won't fly. The full CCTV and bystander clips confirm no theft, just bias. Washington's identity verifies it was wrongful. Mall owner's been looped in. They're initiating a discrimination lawsuit review on his behalf. I felt a surge of that long-bottled anger release just a bit. Watching Harlan's eyes flicker with real fear now, his hands clenching empty. Lawsuit? We'll settle if needed, but protocol protected us. Reasonable steps for safety. Diaz cut him off. Save it for the investigators. For now, you're separated. No talking to your team. The guards exchanged looks, their shoulders slumping as officers led them toward the corridor for transport. The reprimands hanging over them like clouds. Discipline still pending, but the weight of retraining already clear. With the procedural dust settling, Ramirez turned to me. Washington, we need a public acknowledgement here, Harlan. Step up. Apologize on record in front of witnesses. Harlan hesitated, his breath ragged as he glanced at the open door where bystanders like Mrs. Ellis and the young guy still lingered. Phones out and recording the scene spilling into the mall corridor. Shoppers had gathered now, whispers rippling through the crowd as words spread from the viral videos, their eyes wide under the bright mall lights. Harlan swallowed hard, his voice cracking as he faced me, the words forced but public, echoing off the walls for everyone to hear. Agent Washington, I apologize for the discrimination and wrongful treatment. My team profiled you based on appearance, and that was wrong. No excuse. The mall regrets the harm caused. Cameras flashed from the corridor, capturing it all, and I nodded once, keeping my tone even. Accepted, but actions matter more. Make sure this changes things here. The crowd murmured approval, some clapping softly, and I felt that emotional payoff hit deep. The humiliation from the tackle finally countered by this public reckoning. Prejudice exposed as the wrongful harm it was, truth and evidence paving the way for justice. Ramirez pulled me aside then, his team preserving the last bits of evidence as Diaz oversaw the guard's escort. Debrief at the office tomorrow, but take tonight off. Compensation talks are starting. Mel's insurance will cover medical, lost time, probably a settlement to make this right. Civil rights angle gives leverage. I flexed my sore arms, the bruises a reminder of the fight, but nodded. Appreciate it, Ray. Renews my purpose back to undercover work soon. Sharper for this? He smiled faint. That's the spirit. Family know? I grabbed my phone, finally free to dial Lisa without monitors, stepping into the corridor where the air felt fresher. The mall's hum a backdrop to the justice unfolding. She answered quick, her voice thick with worry. Jamal, I've been freaking out, saw clips online of security tackling you. The kids are asking questions. Are you hurt? I leaned against the wall, the cool surface steadying me as emotion welled up. Bruised up, but okay now, babe. It was profiling gone wrong, revealed the badge, feds handled it. Heading home soon. She exhaled long. Thank God. We'll patch you up, ice packs ready, and the kids want to hear the story. You're their hero, standing against that crap. I smiled, picturing them waiting, their support like a balm on the day's wounds. Love you all, be there quick. Weeks later, the lawsuit filed formal. Discrimination claims sticking as the investigation wrapped. Harlan's suspension turning indefinite while he lawyered up. The guards facing retraining and probation pending final review. Compensation came through, a check covering bills and more, initiated by the mall to avoid trial. But the real win was the policy shifts announced. Bias training mandatory. Security cams reviewed for patterns. I dove back into work with renewed fire, undercover ops feeling sharper. That message clear in my mind, prejudice wrecks lives wrongfully. But truth and evidence flip it to justice every time. Heading home that night, the mall fading in my rear view, I pulled into our driveway where Lisa and the kids waited on the porch, their hugs erasing the last shadows of humiliation, life healing one embrace at a time. Now let me ask you honestly, if you were threatened, slandered, or forced to accept money to lie? Would you have the courage to say no? Tell me about a time in your life when you were forced to remain silent to avoid trouble. If this story reminds you that your voice also has value, please like to support those who dare to speak up. Share, so that one more person doesn't have to bow their head and subscribe, because this world needs more people like. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect.